This video is supported in part by Retro Days, a place for nostalgia nerds to gather, share memories, chat, and engage. Go to retrodays.com or check their YouTube channel linked below. Missile Command Recharged has just been released to Google and Apple mobile platforms, and it aims to invoke the fun of the original Missile Command while updating the rules and mechanics for a modern audience. As Generation Xers, we plunked more than our fair share of quarters in the original cabinets, so how does this modern reimagining stack up? Stick around, full review is happening right now.
Don't you know that you're a grown-up? No games, no puns. Not allowed if you're a grown-up.
Hey, and welcome back to GenXGrownUp. I'm John, I am a GenXGrownUp, and I want to thank you for checking out this video and hopefully the rest of the channel. The original Missile Command was a 1980 arcade game developed and published by Atari Incorporated. It was designed by Dave Thurer, who also designed Atari's vector graphics classic, Tempest. And now, 40 years later, Atari, in conjunction with Nickervision Studios, has brought us a sequel in Missile Command Recharged. Recharged is available now in Google Play and the iOS App Store, and there are links in the description below if you decide, based on this review, that you'd like to give it a try. The basic plot remains the same. The player's 6 cities are being attacked by an endless hail of ballistic missiles. New weapons are introduced in later levels, like smart bombs that can evade your shots, and bombers and satellites that fly across the screen launching their own missiles. You are the commander of 3 anti-missile batteries, and you must use them to defend the cities in your zone from being destroyed. Now, while Recharged isn't necessarily obligated to be equivalent to the original, it does bear the name Missile Command, so I'll be using the original game as a baseline for comparison during this review. Graphically, Missile Command was a raster game, but Recharged graphic design is much more inspired by the vector games of the day, with bright neon colors against a stark black background and just a hint of a targeting grid. It ironically screams retro while employing a visual style completely different from the original. Of course, being on mobile platforms, Recharged eschews traditional control methods in favor of touch. And in almost every way imaginable, this is an improvement over the trackball cursor of the 1980 version. Now, I love frantically spinning a trackball as much as the next person, but touch controls to launch your missiles is a superior control method. I hazard to speculate that if touch were a thing in 1980, that would have been the better choice for the original as well. Control here is pinpoint accurate, so when your cities do ultimately get exploded, you can't blame it on the controller. Now, speaking of launching those missiles, if you like to lay down a wall of explosions to get out of a jam, forget it here. Instead, Recharged uses a tower defense style of reload for each missile silo. The original had finite missiles you could fire as fast as your finger would allow. Instead, here the number of missiles is infinite, but each silo has a cooldown period before you can launch again. Furthermore, one wildcard I should mention here is that you don't get to choose from which of your silos a touch-initiated missile originates, so it can sometimes throw off your timing if you expect a missile to come from nearby and instead it fires from the furthest silo. The game does try to fire from the closest one, but being able to pay attention to which missile banks are available and which ones are recharging, that's a bit too much multitasking, meaning invariably you're gonna miss intercepting the incoming attack once in a while. In addition to malevolent missiles falling from the sky, Recharged adds bonus items that float across the playfield. These vary from shields for your cities to larger explosions, speed-ups or screen-clearing smart bombs, and more. To invoke them, you just blow them up with an explosion just as you would an attacker, and the effect is immediate. For bonuses that just have a timed duration, the entire sky will change color and drain as it returns to black and the bonus effect wears off. Initially jarring, I found that as the game gets more frenetic, this was actually a great way to let the player know how long is left in a bonus without having to tear your eyes away from the action. And I should note that playing on a wider device actually gives you an advantage because you get more lead time in seeing not only those power-ups, but also bombers that are making their way across the screen. Recharged is free to download, and anytime I see that, I ask myself, how do they get paid? Well, you'll be happy to know that this app does not pepper you with annoying, repeated video advertisements or even banner ads. Unlike this video, where I will take just a moment to ask you to look for that little banner that pops up at the bottom and ask you to click subscribe and maybe even enable that notification bell so you'll always be the first to know when we release new Gen X inspired content just like this video. But back to Missile Command Recharged. The freemium model they're employing here is time locking new games with the hope that you'll pay to unlock unlimited play later. Operating on the battery theme, you get 3 bars of battery, and each segment is a chance to play for free. Each time you get to the end and the game is over, starting again requires spending one of your battery segments. If you're out of battery segments, you're going to have to wait for that timer to expire and restore your battery. Or you can watch an ad for a free game, or you can buy the game outright for $2.99 and have infinite plays. If you find yourself playing this game more than a half dozen times or so, frankly the $2.99 price is actually quite fair for the polish that's being delivered. It bears mentioning that Recharged offers an augmented reality mode. It's a neat idea that virtually drops a Missile Command cabinet right in your living room. I'll admit this is a very cool novelty, and while you can actually play the game on the AR cabinet on your screen, this is not the way to play Missile Command Reloaded. You'll likely try it once, if at all, and never touch it again unless you want to show it off to a friend. But it's included for no extra charge. In the spirit of the original Missile Command, Recharged's job is to provide you with some fun and beat you within a few minutes. Like the original Missile Command, with enough skill, you could theoretically play forever as long as you successfully protect your cities and missile silos, but this is a game that ends fast and unexpectedly. It's not unlike petting a cat. You think everything's going great, but in a matter of seconds, things go from calm to chaos, and it's all over. Aside from simply getting good, Recharged actually provides an upgrade path to augment your own skills. You can spend points earned in-game to upgrade things like the diameter of your explosions, reduce cooldown time between missile shots, or even the speed with which destroyed units regenerate. Like most mobile games, these upgrades are cheap at first, but quickly become expensive as they hope to keep you engaged for the long haul. But that slow, steady upgrade process is what could potentially elevate this from a novelty to a slow progression of a casual game. With enough time, your purchased upgrades will make the game easier and deliver longer play sessions with higher and higher scores. This is far from the first reimagining of Missile Command. I've played a version of it on everything from my Atari 2600 to my Xbox, and with each port or sequel, I found it to be either a pale imitation or an overproduced Michael Bay lens flare festival. But not so with Recharged. Missile Command Recharged offers equal parts nostalgia, simplicity, and just enough depth and progression to be worthwhile, but not so complex as to scare off new players. So I'm going to rate Missile Command Recharged 4.5 tokens out of 5. With bright graphics, intuitive controls, and gameplay that's quick to pick up but hard to put down, you can't go wrong. And it's free to download and try, whether you're a grizzled Gen Xer who grew up with Missile Command or a gamer completely new to the franchise. This is one to check out. I really hope you found something to enjoy in this video, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye. GenXGrownUp is dedicated to bringing you new Generation X inspired videos every week. Here are a couple more you can watch right now, but for even more, subscribe and enable those notifications. And if you love what we do, we invite you to support us over on Patreon. And of course, your feedback in the comments and a quick thumbs up are always appreciated.